Hey guys, it's Ken from OK Portugal, and today I'm revisiting the scene of this enormous fire that happened quite close to our farm. And as you can see in the background here, a lot of these trees got burnt. This actually went all the way up the mountain, all the way up to the top of the mountain, and it actually went right over the peak. But these aren't parts that I saw on the night that this actually happened. I took some video. I wanted to see where the fire was because it was encroaching on our farm. I took this e-bike and I grabbed a couple of cameras and I went along that side of the mountain down there. And yeah, I was all the way down there, but the fire spread all the way across through all of this eucalyptus and pine and carried on all the way down in this direction. It went all the way up to the top of the Gardunha Mountains here, right over the top of the mountains. And the difficulty with these sort of mountain trails is it's quite difficult for them to get firefighting equipment up there, and how this mountain was on fire at like 10 o'clock at night, all throughout the night, and so they couldn't get any airplanes there. And it was only the next day, once they could get those firefighting airplanes up in the sky, that they could actually start to water bomb and start to get it under control. It was a really crazy night, and it was quite difficult to see where I was going, and I've managed to find the places that I filmed during that video. If you haven't seen that video, have a look up on the top there, click on the link. It's an amazing video that I took of this whole fire. So this is the point where the fire truck was in the beginning of my video, and they had these gates open and they were going into this field over here, and they were firefighting on this side, and we were all surrounded by fire. It was all the way up here and all the way up and around. There were even flames back there. And we got to bear in mind that a couple of weeks have gone past. We've had loads of rain. I mean, we had like a whole week of rain, and now everything is just green again. I tell you, nature always finds a way. It's just incredible. As I go through here on the right, you can actually see I was walking through here in the darkness, and this whole sort of patch over here was all on fire. And the fire truck ended up moving down in this direction here, and there were some huge flames coming out of there. And I think you can see a little bit better now how we had like a wall of fire all the way around us. I think a video like this is important because it kind of shows you, if you are thinking of buying property in Portugal, it kind of shows you like what type of places burn, what type of surroundings you have where you get most of the fire damage. If you look at these big open fields, there's absolutely nothing. And obviously all the areas where there's lots of brush and broom and stuff like that, it's just completely burnt. I had people watching the fire video and saying, oh, there go my plans to move to Portugal. And, personally, I really wouldn't worry about fires as long as you're clever with the type of property that you buy. Obviously, fires affect lots of different countries, not just Portugal. They affect most Mediterranean countries because they get really hot in the summertime and it gets quite dry. But that doesn't mean that if you move here, you're going to burn. It all depends on what type of property you buy and how you look after it. So I recognize this spot. I had the bike parked roughly over there, and there was some kind of a tree on fire over here, and we had all the smoke billowing past the bike. And down in this direction over here we had the fire truck, and there was lots of flames. I don't think this part was burnt as much because it was still safe for me to sort of come down a little bit further. Now, I didn't hear of any casualties in this fire over here. Obviously, at that time, there were fires all over Portugal. They were up in Aveiro, Porto, Viseu, like all over the place. So, it was just a terrible week. So I think in these ones, there weren't any casualties. I haven't seen any buildings like that one over there. I haven't seen any that have burnt. All of them actually look to be okay. But I mean, just look at all of this. This is what they call broom. And look how that burnt. Sure. Crazy. And then obviously look on this side over here as we get to this nice sort of open field. This was obviously kept all nice and cut, and it survived. All of those trees survived. I think there's one in the corner there that's a little bit damaged. And so even if you do have rural land and you have something in a place like this where it is surrounded by eucalyptus forests and things like that, if you do look after it, if you do cut the grass, it's going to give you a much better chance of surviving, or well, of your land surviving. Obviously, if a fire like this happens, you should probably evacuate. I honestly thought that this was all going to be completely destroyed. So I'm actually quite happy to see this. I mean, on the left, completely different story. Now this is another interesting thing to point out. Look at this oak tree over here. So this oak tree, it's obviously a couple of leaves burnt and everything, but look at the trunk. That cork acts as an insulator, so this tree is actually going to be okay. I'm pretty sure that this tree is going to be undamaged inside, and it's survived the fire. Yeah, cork oaks are pretty resistant when it comes to fire. But, so this is a cork oak over here, and unfortunately, it just had too thin a trunk and it was in too much flames to survive. And the same as this one over here. But obviously a bigger tree with a thicker trunk has got more of a chance. But yeah, all this damage. Now, I've seen quite a few fires over the years, here in Portugal, but also back in South Africa. And one thing that always amazes me is just how quickly nature comes back afterwards. I mean, just look at this. We can already see all these little shoots just popping up straight out of the ashes. And it won't be long until this is all completely overgrown again. Another really good thing to have is these types of fire breaks. Look how they've got these big walls here, and these walls actually act as a fire prevention or a fire break. They keep the heat away, and obviously the road keeps the flames away. I think this is the fir tree. Yeah, so when I came here, this was the fir tree that got burnt. It was actually quite sad. I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, I wonder if this one's going to survive. And then we came back a little bit later, and I saw that it had started burning. Yeah, we've still got some green on there, but I'm not sure if it's going to make it, to be honest. It looks like it's been quite severely burnt, even though it does still have some green on it. Now, some of the worst things that you can have are obviously the eucalyptus. The pine is also pretty bad. But one of the worst things that the eucalyptus do is they don't die. So even when you cut them down, like they have over here, if you can see, they just keep growing back, and they just keep growing back. Even if you burn them, they keep growing back. And they're obviously quite flammable, so it's not really something that you want to have a lot of on your land. Yeah, it's been quite surreal coming back here and seeing it like this, because I was actually expecting it to look a lot worse. But then again, it has been a couple of weeks since I was last here, so I think in those weeks with the rain that's come down, everything's kind of not looking as harsh as it was. And we've got a little bit of greenery now. Right, let's get out of here. It's starting to rain, and I'm not particularly waterproof, and neither is my camera. So this fire kind of extended along this road towards a village in front called Portugal da Serra. And as you can see on the left here, I mean, it carried on burning. It was burning through a whole bunch of different things. Look at all these olive trees that got burnt. Even though this land was cleaned and cleared here, it still managed to get through. So there aren't really any guarantees. That's why what we do on our land, on our farm just before summer, is we obviously cut all the grass, and then generally speaking we'll get a tractor to come through and till the ground, and it'll basically compost everything into the ground, and nothing will grow for the whole of summer. And then we've got 3.5 hectares of fire break around our house, making us quite safe and secure. So as we go along this road, we can see there's still more fire that was on our left here, and the fire was creeping towards the village of Portugal da Serra up in the front. And at that time of night, the fire trucks couldn't really do much, because they can't actually get into the mountain fire. They can only go along these little roads like this. So they were quite limited in what they could do. And then the fire sort of spread from the left through all these little plots, kind of in the distance. This is a private track, so I don't want to go up there. But yeah, it carried on going. Now fortunately, I can't see any houses that were damaged in the fire. I didn't hear of any reports of people getting killed or seriously injured or anything like that. It seems to have just been lots of forest and lots of plots of land that got burnt. So I guess that's a good thing, And now that that land has burnt, it means it's probably not going to burn again for the next couple of years. So this area is relatively safe again. But I can't help but think just how lucky the people are that own the land around here, which is all uncut. This obviously wasn't green 2 weeks ago. That would have all been really brown. And I mean, imagine the fire would have just had an easy path. And yeah, in actual fact, it did. Look, it was actually burning in the background there, and those trees there. So these aren't autumn oranges. These are flames that have come through and burnt. And again, we can see this fresh green lawn that's just popped up in the last 2 weeks, all because of all of the potash that's come down from this whole terrace being burnt. And that just shows you just how fertile it is. Now the sad part is that a whole bunch of mature trees that have taken decades to grow have all been wiped out by this fire. And You know, the things that are going to grow quite quickly are things like grasses and broom and weeds and things, brambles. And when those things take over the land, then it just becomes a whole fire risk again. So whoever owns land like this needs to find ways of incorporating all those natural fire-resistant species back in, keeping the land clear so that in future it's going to be safe again. Now, in those 2 weeks, we've had some much-needed rain. And just check this out. This is the Rio Ocreza, and this is a river that basically starts up in the Gardunha Mountains. So it actually begins up here, near where the village of Casal de Serra is, winds its way all the way down, and at the moment it's flowing beautifully. And yeah, carries on along here, down a few little cascades and waterfalls, and into the Marateka Dam, which is the big dam that's close to our farm. So I think it's safe to say that we don't have to worry about water anymore this year. You know, during summertime, we're always a little bit careful, and now it looks like the dry spell's over. Check out these 2 videos I made about the recent fires in Portugal. In the first video, we see the fire on the night that it was burning. In the second video, we visit one of our viewers' properties that was badly damaged by the fires in Viseu. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.